Blakestone Planet Strike is the sequel to Blakestone Aliens of Gold. It was released in late 1994, developed by Jam Productions and running on the Wolfenstein 3D engine. It is a sequel that makes some minor changes to the core gameplay of the previous game, and sees Blake bring an end to the evil Dr. Goldfire once and for all. For starters, almost every single sprite and texture in the game has been reskinned. Weapons now have a much greater amount of visual detail, and there seems to be a greater variety of textures on each floor. Where Aliens of Gold had 60-something levels to complete, Planet Strike only has 20, though these new levels seem to be much better designed. You still begin each level in an elevator, though now instead of just searching for the keycard to access the next floor, you instead have to destroy the security cube using a detonator which is hidden somewhere on the level. Often you'll have to find a series of keys to access the area the detonator is held, and also remove a force field or barrier which protects the security cube. It sounds a lot more complex than it really is, and Planet Strike's levels are designed in a way that everything seems to flow a lot smoother. There's a lot less key hunting as a result, and you'll often find the items required as you explore the level naturally, compared to the first game where I would find myself having to run around in circles until I found whatever keycard still eluded me. It helps that your map is now permanently active in the HUD, and you can easily tell where you are at any given time. You can also change the magnification level of the map, which will help you locate all those hidden passages where treasure and other useful items are often found. Aside from this, the gameplay is practically identical to Aliens of Gold. You shoot things with the left mouse button, collect loot throughout the level to improve your score, and replenish your health with food tokens and medkits. Sound effects and music are largely recycled, but still have that punchy and cathartic sound blaster feel, which encapsulated games from the 90s. You will fight the same enemies as before, even if they are reskinned to appear different. These are largely Dr. Goldfire's troops, human enemies with different weapons and resistances to damage, and all of Goldfire's mutant and robot creations. The difficulty level affects how many of these guys are on each level and how much damage they can take and dish out. Higher difficulties really make the game unfairly tough, as enemies turn into royal shitheads. You can blast away at them with the strongest weapons and they'll still be able to shoot right on back at you without reprieve. Much like Wolfenstein 3D, the harder modes come more down to reaction times and twitch shooting than it does to actual skill and strategy. You'll be interacting with scientists as well, who may or may not be undercover agents allied with Blake. Keeping these guys alive will improve your end of level score, but as before, it's often quite hard to tell who's who, and the only way to tell is often by talking to them directly. If they are an enemy, this can give them a free point-blank shot to your face if you're unlucky and unable to react fast enough. Bosses are encountered every 4 or 5 floors, and beating them is still just a matter of exploiting their AI, and hiding around corners to take potshots at them before they're in range to fire back. Blake's arsenal has also been given a new addition, a double-barreled plasma cannon that launches 2 devastating explosives that practically obliterates everything it hits. Much like Aliens of Gold, Planet Strike doesn't really have any glaring faults or major issues, it's just that there's nothing groundbreaking about it. It just is what it is. I can see how some people might find the controls a little bit confusing as well. There's no strafe left or right buttons, and you can only sidestep whilst looking straight ahead. It's not as bad as it sounds, but it does feel a little bit clunky if you're used to playing games on a normal mouse and keyboard configuration. If I had to pick either of these Blakestone games, I'd probably go with Planet Strike, only because it's been designed in a much more cohesive way, and there's less of a focus on figuring out where the hell you're supposed to be going and just enjoying the ride. It's really more of a mission pack than a full-blown sequel, but there is still a few hours of gameplay to be had, and there are enough changes overall that it doesn't feel too much like more of the same. Compared to something like Spirit Destiny that just rehashed the same formula for 20-something levels, at least Planet Strike tries to mix things up. I just think it was too little too late for this game. Games like System Shock and Doom 2 were out the same year, and they just run rings around Planet Strike's gameplay in almost every single aspect. But games like this are like pizza, you know, even when they're not that great, they're still kinda good. You can get this game along with the first in the Apogee Throwback Pack on Steam, or as a standalone for like $6 on goodoldgames.com, and it runs near flawlessly in DOSBox.